Here we go. All right, we are back live here at Wings and Rings here in Chicago, Illinois on Halstead with the World Series champion, White Sox legend, Aaron Rowand. We appreciate you coming on.
The GOAT.
It's an exciting day.
This place is hopping.
Hopping. Hey, everybody's getting ready. Is a mic check, mic check. Everybody's getting ready for the White Sox game coming up here at 3 o'clock against the Boston Red Sox. We appreciate you coming on here for a little bit.
My pleasure, man. I enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Is his mic good to go? We'll just make sure. I think it's just you got to be a little close to it. You got
Do
to.
I need to get?
Yeah,
okay,
you got to make love to it a little bit.
That's okay.
So, yeah, Aaron, we appreciate a little bit of your time here. Going back to the 2005 season, you guys were so special. I mean, it was such a unique team where it felt like a lot of guys had career years all in one moment, right? You had Joe Creedy and that pitching staff, you and Scott Podsednik and everybody. It was a transition from Frank Thomas and Magglio Ordonez and some of the White Sox greats at that time.
Carlos Lee.
Lee, exactly. And now all of a sudden you guys roll over and Tadahito Iguchi comes in and, now you got A.J. Pierzynski lighting a fire under everybody's ass. And, of course, Ozzie Guillen, who we had the pleasure of talking with about a month ago this time. What was that like for you to be a part of that team and the culture that made that team so special?
That group was, we were close, just not only on the field but off the field, and I think everybody shared a joint ideal of what it meant to get over the hump, because I was on the team for the 4 years prior, and we came in second place every year.
Right.
And we led the American League in every offensive category you could shake a stick at. We just didn't have the pitching. And in 2005, when we realized that we had guys like Jose Contreras and El Duque, and then you bring in Freddie Garcia along with Garland and Burley, every day that we went to the field, we were like, okay, who's throwing today? Burley. All right, well, who's he going to pitch against? Oh, we got this one. That's how it felt every day. And there was a level of confidence just because of who was on the mound, and they set the tone for us the entire time. And then we didn't have to score as many runs as we did in the past.
Yeah, arguably maybe the greatest starting pitching staff ever assembled, especially when you consider the playoff run you guys went on.
And that'll never be done again in the LCS.
Never.
Absolutely not. One third of an inning from a bullpen in 5 games will never be done again.
Insanity. And you don't really see that much these days now with the analytics approach of baseball and the specialty relievers, and you just don't see guys go the distance all that much anymore. Marcus Stroman, I think, is a bit of a throwback type of a player.
Absolutely.
And you kind of learn to appreciate, as somebody that's grown up watching baseball like we all have, those last few players that talk about it, because Marcus mentioned, no, I train for this. Yep. So I expect to go the distance. And I feel like there's a mentality switch now where players rest on their laurels, like, hey, I got a bullpen behind me. I'm not going to have to worry about 9 innings. And I feel like maybe the training and mindset's a little different in that nature.
I'll give you a story about it. It'll give you an absolute mindset of our entire season, because this is how not only the position players but our pitching staff look at things. And we were in the ALCS. Jose Contreras had thrown 8 2/3, and we lost game 1. And then Burley goes 9, Garland goes 9. Freddie Garcia starts game 4 in Anaheim, and he's at about 100 pitches after 7 innings. And he goes out for the 8th inning, and I happened to be right there when it happened. And he comes back in after getting 3 outs, and we're up by 1 run. And he's at 127 pitches, 128 pitches. And I happened to be walking by because I was getting ready to hit. And Ozzie walks up to him and goes, hey, I'm going to take you out. We're going to bring in Bobby. We're going to bring in Bobby Jenks. And he goes, no, you're not. And I could drop a couple F-bombs here, but that's basically what happened. He said, no, you're not taking me out. I'm going to finish this game.
Yeah.
And Ozzie looked at him and goes, are you sure? And he goes, get the F out of my face, basically. And Ozzie goes, all right. And he went back out and he went 1, 2, 3 in the ninth inning and he threw a complete game. And then Hosey comes back in game 5 and throws a complete game. 4 straight complete games and 1/3 of an inning in game 1 that are bullpen. And it was Neil Kotz for 1/3 of an inning. That will never happen again. But that was the mentality of our entire team.
And you see, like, we look at a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, the closest thing they'll ever get to a World Series was the COVID year. And look at what happened between Blake Snell and Kevin Cash. Why couldn't Blake Snell look Kevin Cash and look him in the eye and say, I'm the best fucking arm you got. I'm the best chance you got to win in this game. Why can't I just stay in? At least give me this guy. That's why we'll never see that again in the playoffs, because you don't have a guy in your rotation, probably outside of Garrett Cole, Scherzer, a couple of the OGs, that's going to look their manager in the eye and say, no, this is my guy. Ain't no more John Lackey, Derek Lowe's no more.
Get out of my face. I'm finishing it.
Yep.
I didn't realize you could drop F-bombs. So, okay, we're good.
You absolutely can.
Okay, great.
This is Brags in the Stands podcast.
Right, so
we're not on NBC.
Okay, perfect.
Not yet.
So basically, Freddie said, get the fuck out of my face. I'm finishing it.
I love it. And Ozzy talked about that. Like, when you talk about the culture, you guys all hung out together after the games and stuff. And that's the unfortunate circumstance, I feel like, with this current White Sox team. I don't feel there's as much of a connection as a full team. There's cliques, so to speak. Whereas it felt like with you guys, it was all for one.
It was always that way because myself, guys like myself and AJ, Joe Creedy, Scott Pasednik, Paulie, like, we made it a point to make sure that when we were on the road, especially on the road, because when you're at home, you have your families here,
right,
in Chicago and at your house. And so you go home and you spend time with the family when you have time with the family. On the road, though, what we have is ourselves, and we spend all that time with each other in the locker room, but we also spend time away from the field together, whether it be before a game, going to lunch, or going to dinner on an off day, or going out and talking about baseball at the bar, have a couple beers and talk about the game and what did we do good and where can we get better. And we really made it a point to include everybody. And that includes guys like Tadahito Iguchi. And we had to go through his interpreter and everything else, but he was there with us all the time.
And that's what I wanted to ask, because, a locker room is something special, I think, that society could really look at, because everybody comes from different backgrounds, different countries, different cultures, and you guys come together for a singular cause. But I feel like nowadays, I almost feel like social media in a lot of ways is hurting the chemistry aspect, because you're talking about going out, having a beer, talking about what we can do the next game. And I feel like these players nowadays have to walk on eggshells because they don't know who's going to have a phone in their face.
Who's taking a picture.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that I agree with you 100%. That has absolutely hurt the camaraderie of teams these days. These guys, we're watching the Cubs St. Louis game right now. And I know they're in London, so they're probably going to go out and check out London. But on the real and on the regular, most of these guys just hang out in their hotel rooms on the road. And maybe certain guys will go to so-and-so's room, and like you said, there's cliques. But there's not a joint group effort to really try to be a team. And if you don't have that aspect, when you step foot on that field and you're not sure if the guy next to you is more worried about his next contract or winning a game, there's a little bit of doubt that comes in there. I'm not saying that I don't like that guy or I don't love that guy, but
right.
But there's a level of trust that isn't there, that when you do hang out together on the daily and you do know where everybody's heart lies and what their aspirations are, everybody ends up pulling on the same end of the rope. And that was what we had. And it started with Ozzy, because Ozzy created that atmosphere. And then it was up to some of us in the clubhouse, Jermaine. I mean, it was up to us to try to make that a real thing. And then whether it be Latin or whether it be Japanese or whether it be Colombian or Dominican or whatever, it didn't matter. Most of the Latin guys spoke English. Tadahito's the only guy that didn't speak any English, but luckily his interpreter was really funny.
Yeah.
And so it was good. So like even though he would say stuff and like he used to try to like buffer the things, and it's like, no, I want you to translate exactly like I say it. Like I said, fuck you, you better go. And he would go, oh, and then in translation it'd be like, he really wants you to run faster. And it's like, no, you gotta go.
That ain't what I
You
said.
gotta fucking go. And I said, I want you to translate it exactly the way I'm saying it. And then he did it, and I saw Tadahito's face. He goes, oh, okay, well, I got to run faster then. Like it was like everybody was held accountable, but it was all in fun, and it really brought everybody together as a cohesive group.
Yeah, I think my generation's game where nowadays they don't even let the players police their own locker room. They don't let managers police like all of the fines coming from Manfred up top. Manfred's not in my damn clubhouse 7 days a week. He doesn't know what I'm dealing with this knucklehead, what I'm trying to do to get this guy on the field. Perfect example, another situation with the Rays. Look at what my boy Kevin Cash doing to Wander Franco right now, as we speak.
And he's a great player.
He's a great player, but you're playing like shit and you're being a baby. So you're going to be benched this weekend. I better see your ass Saturday on the field.
There's no better way to light a fire under somebody's ass than put his ass on the bench.
Period.
Well, what did Bobby Knight once say? There's no better motivator than bench. Ass meets bench.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, mind gets better.
All of a sudden everything's hunky-dory.
Yeah.
You're like, I got it, coach. All right, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. I want to encourage anybody that's in here still before they get to the White Sox game. If you have a question for Aaron Rowand, you can step up, take a mic. I know we did have one diehard White Sox fan that wanted to step up to the mic and ask Aaron Rowand, here, you can take my mic. It's okay. You can sit right here in the seat. Yeah, come on down. Pop a squat.
I feel like it's the Price is Right. Come on down.
Make sure.
In the stands.
Take my mic. What's your name? License and registration.
I just want
My
to see
name
you
is
spin.
Kim.
I just want to see you spin the wheel, Kim.
All right. Am I the big winner?
Yeah, fire away. Ask
All
your
right.
question to Aaron
All right.
Rowand.
Big money, no whammies.
Yeah, exactly.
No whammies,
You got
no
it.
whammies.
Okay. Well, great to have you here, Aaron.
Thank you for having
Obviously.
me.
So I've heard that when you have a natural aptitude for something, it's difficult to then teach that skill to somebody else. And you were such a naturally gifted outfielder. I'm wondering what you did to try to impart those skills to the minor leaguers when you were coaching in the minor league system.
That is a great question.
Thank you.
Wow, that was actually a lot better than I was expecting. But no, that's
you
great.
underestimated me.
No. It's absolutely a great question.
Thank you.
And the thing is, with Eloy and with Louis Robert and those guys, the biggest thing that makes you a good outfielder is the work that you do during batting practice, and actually taking game reads at game speed. Most people don't know, but there are 4 groups in every batting practice. So you have 4 groups of hitters, and so you're obviously in one group hitting. What I did, and I got it from guys like Torrey Hunter and like some of the best outfielders in the game during my day, and we all did the same thing, and that was that you're gonna take one round of batting practice game-like, and I'm gonna tell every pitcher in the outfield in my area to get the hell out of my way, back off, because I'm gonna go get everything that goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to play it game-like. I'm going to get game-like reads. And I'm going to put my head down, and I'm going to run. And I'm going to make every play. And it doesn't mean I got to get every ball that's hit to my direction, because I'm going to play one, and then I'm going to go back to my position, and then I'm going to play another one game-like.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do that for an entire round with no pitcher interference.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest thing, and I wish and I hope that anybody that plays professional or college ball that is listening to this, and you're an outfielder, it is the most important thing to make you become a good outfielder. You have to play it game-like for a round during batting practice every single day. And then you can go ahead and sit around and shag and shoot the shit with all the pitchers and whatever when we're after that. But every single day you do that. And I did that with all the guys like Eloy, guys like Luis Robert, and the guys that have come through the system in the minor leagues that I was with, and I tried to instill that work ethic in them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's real easy to happen, and anybody that knows, has been around big league baseball, knows that it's real easy once you make it to the big leagues and you're getting paid and everybody's taking care of your luggage
Yes.
and taking care of your bags,
Yep.
it's real easy to like step back off that and then not work quite as hard.
Mhm.
And if you don't do that, you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And
That's true in a lot of things.
it's in a lot of things, you know. And so, like as a coach, I try to instill that in the guys that I work with, but not everybody has the same mentality that I did or that a lot of the guys that I played with did. Like I wanted to step on your throat every day.
Mm.
And I wanted to prove that I was the best player on the field every day. And it didn't matter whether Alex Rodriguez or Jason Giambi or Jim Tomei or anybody was on the field with me. I was going to prove that day that I was the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen all the time. Sometimes it did, but sometimes it didn't. And that drive is what pushed me to try to work as hard as I did. And I would really hope that a lot of the guys in the game today, the guys that are good, the guys that you watch on ESPN that make great plays, those are the guys that work.
Yeah.
And it's those are the guys that I would hope fans would root for because they are putting in the work.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we always appreciated about you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I mean, I love the fans here on the South Side because I felt like they were like an extension of my personality, and I loved them for it.
Well, that's why we love you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the great
you for
answer.
coming.
Great question, Kim. You killed it.
Yeah, I like that. I couldn't even write down any
You're
damn
gonna
notes.
have my job soon enough.
All right. You let me know when you're done.
I don't know what I'm
Brainstorm
doing.
for another one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Aaron, you hit it on the head. My favorite thing to do as an outfielder is shag fly balls on BP, just because I want to see what it looks like off the bat. I want to hear what it sounds like, so I don't in the game I don't get confused. It could be a cloudy day. I tell all of my teammates when we're taking BP, I'm catching every fucking ball. Get out of my way.
And the thing is, the biggest part of that also is not just getting, because the most important thing is your first step off the bat and first step direction. Because if I'm not running a straight line to where the ball's coming down, then I'm running a loop, and then I'm having to cover more distance, which means I'm probably not going to get to some balls. If I end up doing like a U shape instead of a straight line, then I'm not covering as much ground as I possibly can. The better part of it is not only reading the ball off the bat, it's being able to recognize in your first two steps the ball off the bat, and then I can put my head down and run because I know where it's coming down. And if I don't practice that in batting practice, I'm never going to put my head down in a game and trust myself to know where the ball's coming down, because I'm not going to put my head down and run, and I'm not looking at the ball's over my head. I know where it's coming down in my head, so I'm running to that spot. And then when I get to that spot, I'm going to look up, and there it is. If I have to run like this with my head looking back at the ball the whole way, I'm not going to run as fast as if I can put my head down like a sprinter and run to a spot.
Yeah.
That's how you cover ground. And if you don't do it in BP, you'll never do it in the game because you won't trust yourself.
Willie Mays, Torrey Hunter, Aaron Rowand, Vernon Wells, Jim Edmonds. Those are the guys that track the fly balls over their head the best I've ever seen through these green eyes. So
and
just
those
so
are,
you know.
and by the way, you have beautiful green eyes. But,
Appreciate it.
but those, I want you to know, I know Willie really well too, because my time in San Francisco, he was in the clubhouse all the time. And I used to pick his brain all the time. And he told me the same thing that Torrey Hunter and I talked about all the time. And that was in batting practice, practicing getting jumps, putting your head down and running to a spot.
Yep.
And that's how you cover ground. And I'm like, if Willie Mays did this, obviously, I think I'm trying to do the right thing. And I wasn't the most gifted, fast. Like I was very quick, but I didn't have a top speed like Torrey Hunter.
Right.
But I was fast. And luckily for me, I could get to top speed in a couple steps.
Well, you were very explosive.
That was why I could play center, because I could get to top speed in a couple steps. But to hear from a guy like Willie Mays and talking to Jim Edmonds and Torrey, Jim and Torrey are both really good friends of mine. And I looked up to them as an outfielder, and I'm like, I want to play outfield like them. Yeah. And so I went and picked their brains, whether it be after a game or whatever, and just took as much away from them as I could. And then I implemented that into my routine on a daily basis. And if it weren't for people like them, or like my outfield coach, Gary Pettis, who is now the third base coach for the Astros.
Houston.
He was like my guru too, because I grew up in LA and he was playing for the Angels, and that dude was a stud.
Oh, I know.
And so to have a great outfield coach like that, and then to pick brains of some of the best outfielders that ever played the game, I feel and I consider myself very lucky because I got to do that.
When you talk about, putting your head down and making a play, Justin, I asked him what was his favorite Aaron Rowand memory, thinking he's going to bring up something from your White Sox career, and he said it was in your Phillies career when you put your face through a wall, literally broke your face trying to catch a ball. That mentality, that your memory of that moment, like what was going through your head as you were trying to find that ball, and then the after effect of what had happened.
Well, the after effect is my nose isn't straight. It's probably pretty ugly, but
no, you're looking good, man.
Come
on
I got
now.
bit by a dog in the face 2 weeks ago. So
oh, jeez.
But no, we were actually just talking about it back there, and all the White Sox fans know Gavin Floyd, or remember Gavin Floyd. Well, Gavin was a rookie with us in Philadelphia, and so if you want to know what's going through my head, it's a little bit of a long story, but
we got time. We got time.
I'll try to keep it short. So Gavin got called up, and he had probably about 5 starts, and he had been like 0, 0, 0, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 6, 0, 0, 0. Like every outing, he was dominant, except for 1 inning. And it was like, dude, you got to get this together. Like I didn't say anything to him. I'm not a pitcher. But before his outing that day, he was starting the day that I ran into the fence. And we were playing the Mets, and he was, he's a rookie, so he didn't want to sit in the clubhouse during batting practice. He wanted to be out there with the guys and shack balls and stuff. So he was, after I got done with my round, running down balls and stuff, he came out and he was standing next to me, and we started talking. I said, yeah, what's going on with you? Like, you absolutely dominate for like 5 out of 6 innings or 6 out of 7 innings. But you got the one where it just like goes sideways. I go, what's going on? And he goes, well, I start to think about this, that, whatever. He starts getting like robotic in his wind up. And I said, listen to me. You need to get out of your own way, first off. And I said, when you recognize that this is happening, I said, buddy, I got the best seat in the house. I'm sitting in center field watching you. Then I said, I want you to step off the mound. I want you to look at me, and I'm going to go, hey, time to regroup. And he goes, okay, all right, okay. And he was a rookie, so he's like, okay. And
like
so,
a spring chicken.
Yeah, right. And so literally that game, in the top of the first inning, he strikes out the first guy on 3 pitches, strikes out the second guy on 4. So he's thrown 7 pitches, and there's nobody out and 2 on. And then he goes ball 4, ball 8, ball 12. Walks the bases loaded. And I'm like, mother. And so finally he stepped off the mound. He turned around. He looked back at me, and I went.
he phoned a friend in the first
gave him
inning.
the finger.
Right. I'm like, dude, recognize what's going on. Just throw. And then Xavier Nady came up, and the very first pitch, he hit a ball over my head. And so I drop stepped, I put my head down, and I was running at the fence. And I remember thinking to myself, to your point, if I catch this ball, we're going to win. If I catch this ball, we're going to win this game against the Mets, who happen to be our rival. And we were like neck and neck in the standings at the time. And so I caught the ball. I ended up in the hospital, and we won 2-0.
Hell yeah.
So that's exactly what happened.
One of the greatest catches you'll ever see.
I mean, that's the epitome of
ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the epitome of grinder baseball, and I think that's why Sox fans, revere you so much, and still to this day. I mean, that whole team, but you in particular,
Well,
I think we value that here in Chicago.
I appreciate all the fans here for that. But that was a team mentality. That group in 05, everybody put team before themselves. There wasn't one guy on that team that I can think back at that I felt was more worried about their numbers so they could get another contract. Everybody was worried about winning games, and we knew we had the horses to do it. And it was like, hey, if we win the World Series, everybody gets paid. we're gonna fucking go. And so everybody on that team, to a man, even Juan Uribe, who barely speaks any English, and we love it, and Tadahito, who couldn't speak a lick of
Hey,
English.
Juan Uribe speaks baseball.
He does. I'll tell you what, and he rakes.
He
And
right.
he
He
doesn't wear a
does.
cup
Who-
because he can't.
It felt like you guys all embraced.
Hey, I'm not the first one to say it. He said it in an interview in Cleveland, okay?
So it felt like you guys all embraced how Ozzie Guillen approached the game as a manager. You know, fiery, tell it like it is, kind of leave a lot of the responsibilities to you guys as players in a lot of ways. You know, I heard stories about if somebody went out the night before, he'd let them know, like, hey, I was out late, maybe give him a day or whatever. Or like just try to tackle, like, but you better come ready to work one way or the other. You can do what you want the night before, but you got to come ready to work. Was there anybody on the team that was like terrified of Ozzie? You guys felt like you all embodied him, but was there anybody on the team that was like terrified of Ozzie's approach?
No, everybody embraced it. Everybody embraced it. In fact, we're watching TV right now. That I managed him in the fall league. Paul DeYoung is a stud.
Paul DeYoung.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that. No, but I got a great story for you about that. I was actually just telling these guys in the back when we were signing. I said one of the funniest moments, and it was kind of like it's kind of one of those things that define a group or define a season. And we were in Baltimore. We had an off day, and so we flew in the night before. We had a complete off day before we played a night game against them the next day. And so everybody did their own thing during the day, and we all got together as a group like we always did as a team. And there's a place in Baltimore called the Power Plant, or it used to be anyway. This is 05, so I don't know if it's still there. But it was just like a string of bars on both sides. It was like a mini Bourbon Street in the middle of Baltimore. And everybody on our team went. Like I'm not even kidding you when I say Ozzie, Joey Cora, Tim Ray, like our entire coaching, Harold Baines even went out. But our entire coaching staff, our entire training staff, all of the production people that travel with the team, all the reporters, every single guy on the team except for two, Juan Uribe and Timo Perez. They stayed back at the hotel bar because they were trying to pick up on a couple ladies. And so everybody goes out. And Ozzie's out with us, everybody. Now, we got a night game the next night. We closed the place down at 2 a.m., and there was a line of taxis coming to pick us up. And there's like 3-4 people in every taxi going back to the hotel. So when we get back to the hotel, it's taxi, 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 taxi. Everybody's getting out. And so we all get out. We're all standing kind of in front, and Ozzie's in front. And you know how the doors open at the hotel? And Ozzie's in front of us, and he's got the entire posse behind him. I'm talking like 40 people. And Ozzie's in front, and we walk in. And to preface this, Ozzie had told Jermaine Dye that he had the day off the next day. So Timo Perez was playing right field. So we walk in at about 2:15 into the hotel with the entire group. And Timo Perez is passed out on the couch in the lobby right across from the front desk. And everybody was like, oh boy, like how's this gonna go? And we're all like, we're all looking at each other like wide-eyed, like, okay, what's gonna happen here? And Ozzie walks up next to him and he taps him on the shoulder, and Timo doesn't even move, like he completely passed out on the couch. And he looks back at the entire group of like 40 people behind him, and he goes, so this is what we have to work with tomorrow? Okay. He better come to play. And then he left, and we all walked, and we left him passed out on the couch. And then the next day, Timo hit 2 home runs.
There you go.
And that was, I mean, if that doesn't like put the season
embody everything about you guys.
Everything about that group, that was it.
This is a special group, no question about it.
Was.
We're here at Wings and Rings here in Chicago, Illinois, on Halstead. We appreciate the Collectors Cave putting on another great event. And we're here just for a few more moments here with Aaron Rowand. Let him get to enjoying his day. We appreciate all your time. Real quickly, touch on this year's White Sox. I'm just being curious from your vantage point, understanding what it takes to win in this city. This team felt like they were on the rise a few years ago, and now they've really hit a lull.
I don't like this part.
Putting
right
it
here.
mildly. I know it's the only way to. I'm trying to be as nice as I can to phrase it, but it has been a frustrating last 2 years for White Sox fans. What would, if you were in that clubhouse, if you were on this team talking to these guys, is there anything you can do to light that fire that these guys had just 2 years ago at the Field of Dreams game, where it felt like, man, these guys had that same vibe that could win a World Series, and now it feels like that's completely dissipated? Would you have any kind of message for these guys to get going?
Pay attention to the details. I mean, yeah, and it's definitely a mentality too. Like, my message, probably the biggest one, would be, I don't give a shit who you are or how much money you think you're going to make next year or how much money you're making this year. If you really want to play this game and you want to play it for the right reasons, it's about winning games. So you do things, you sacrifice, and you do things to win games. And when I said at the beginning, it's about paying attention to the details. It's about playing defense. It's about hitting your cutoff man. It's about taking an extra base, going first to third, going home to second when you have a chance to do it, sliding. I'm not even going to get into that last night. But it's about playing the game hard and playing the game and doing it with the detailed effort that it takes to beat professional players that are playing against you. And if you don't take those little bits, it's like, I'm sure everybody that's listening to this or has ever watched a Major League Baseball game will tell you the same thing. If you give a Major League Baseball team 4 outs, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yep.
Same thing goes for running the bases, running a double out of the box, not cruising out of the box and it ends up being a single. It needs to be a double, and it needs to at least be close if you're going to give an effort to do it. If you get thrown out by 10 feet, then you're an idiot.
Yep.
But if it's bang, bang, that's you playing hard, and that's all right.
Yep.
But that's not happening right now. And then the detail in their defense right now, missing cutoff men, letting other guys take an extra base on you. That turns into another run, and then you lose by 1. You go, how do we lose? Well, because you missed your cutoff guy. It's the detail things.
Yep.
And you can go ahead and preach about pitching. You can preach about how their hitting is or their pitching or whatever. But the things that you can control in the game, you have to. Defense, precision, base running, taking extra bases, running in a guy's face, momentum changers. Those types of things are what differentiate a professional baseball team against another professional baseball team that is really good.
Yep.
And if you don't do it and they do, guess what? You end up losing.
Yep.
I don't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday. The San Francisco Giants been absolutely beating the hell out of everybody the past 10 days. They were on like a 11-game win streak. The Padres have a $500 million payroll, Aaron, and they have been getting destroyed. Thursday in the first inning, Fernando Tatis laid down a sacrifice bunt.
Did he lay down a blunt?
A sacrifice
Yeah.
blunt.
He did not lay down a blunt. He is not Josh Gordon. Okay.
A sacrifice blunt.
Right,
That's a
sacrifice
good
bunt.
friend.
Yeah. Nando laid down the sacrifice bunt, and now all of a sudden the San Diego Padres can't lose. They've been scoring double-digit runs ever since. Little things like that, playing to win, can have significant
Trickle-down effect.
Yeah, a
Yep.
triple.
It's
Well,
it's contagious.
I got to tell you right now, I know that most
blunts
people
on my
know,
mind.
I'm pretty sure that everybody's a White Sox fan knows that Fernando Tatis was with us
Yeah, I
in the
know.
minor leagues, and he got traded for my cousin.
Shields?
Yeah,
He got a good changeup.
yeah. He pitched a lot of games for the Sox, but we knew that Fernie was going to be good. And I got to tell you something about Fernie. I love him to death. He's a great kid, and he's an unbelievable talent. And what you just said to me right there tells me one thing about him, because I know how good he is. He's not the kind of guy to do that until he gets sick of losing.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he goes, I'm going to do it. And he does it. And then, like you said, everybody follows suit.
Yep.
And that's what we had in 05. Guys were willing. Shoot, we were playing the Mets here. in Chicago. Bases loaded, 2 outs and extra innings, and Timo Perez puts down a push bunt to the left side for a game winner. That's the kind of stuff that people go, oh my God, like I just got goosebumps. That's the kind of stuff that wins games because you're trying to play to win. You're not playing for you. You're playing for everybody else that's in that clubhouse and in that dugout. And Fernie, and I know him very well, like I said, he's a great kid, and he's happy doing what he's doing, hitting bombs and making money and whatever.
You said bombs, not bongs, right? Because we did the blunts.
Yeah, he's tired of losing. He's tired of losing.
Right.
So he lays down a bunt because he's tired of losing.
Right.
And then everybody else follows suit.
And you know what's the crazy thing about the bunt is I wasn't surprised because it was the right play right there. That was the baseball play. He's been hitting good.
Well, he rakes.
He's been on fire the last 2 weeks. And for him to sacrifice in the first inning, that lets me know, it's winning time. Let's go.
So, I mean, to that point, when I asked, like, what's going to get this team turned around, it's little plays like that that are going to build on top of each other.
Well, because people start to follow.
Right, right. And right now it feels like they're in quicksand, but you pull yourself out one step at a time by doing those little things. Because I think, like you said, it's pretty profound to say the other side are major leaguers too. So the difference in the margin of difference is the attention to detail and execution.
Well, I'll tell you this, like I would hit whether it be, and I had like Frank and Paul hitting in front of me. They aren't exactly like track athletes, you know? But if they got on
faster than Yasmani Grandal, right?
Yeah, because he can't run either. But I mean, they're probably pretty close. We used to make fun of Paul and tell him the only guy that was slower than him in MLB was Benji Molina. But
damn, not Benji, bro.
Yeah. Hey, and I play with Benji in San Fran, man. I love him to death. He's my favorite, one of my favorite people. But he was very slow. He could hit a line drive on the left center field wall and get a base hit. And it wasn't like he wasn't trying. Like he literally was trying. He was digging for 2 until he got 2 steps past first. And he's like, oh, shit, I got to go back.
Park and break.
Yeah, park and break. It was throw the anchor. But Paulie was the same way. I had those guys in front of me, and I was hitting like 5, 6 in the lineup, and it would be the second inning. And if we were playing against, or if we were facing a pitcher who we knew, like Andy Pettit or Roger Clemens or guys of like that nature, if we got a leadoff walk, I don't care if I got a sign or I'm not. I'm throwing down a bunt. I'm going to put him in scoring position. Yeah. And if we get lucky to get a base hit, that's a run. And that was just my mentality. I go, you got to pick and choose your opportunities, especially against good pitchers.
Yep.
Guys that you know are not going to give up a 6 spot.
Right.
Like you got to go, all right, Roger Clemens, if we score 3, we're lucky. I hope we have a good pitcher on the mound, which we did in 05. But if we can scrape across 1 or 2, I'm going to throw down a bunt in second inning and put the slowest guy in baseball on second. Hopefully we get a double and we get a run. That might be what it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's how you play winning baseball. And everybody needs to be on that page. I remember Paulie putting down sack bunts. Nobody ever gave him a sign to throw down a bunt.
Yeah.
But in certain situations against certain pitchers, he knew that was our best chance to get a win that day. And there was always a common joke going on in the clubhouse in 05. And I think Paulie actually started it. It was like, don't score any more than we need to. And if you look back from what I think I remember, I believe that team won more one-run ball games than any team in White Sox history in a season.
Sure.
And everything seemed to be like 2-1 or 3-2.
Yep.
And so it was a common joke, like, hey, don't score any more than we need to. High five, 3-2 win.
Yeah. Yeah. Save them for the next day.
That's it. Save it. We
Yeah.
always said that.
I mean, can you blame you handing the ball off to Poli, Hermanson, Marte? I mean,
Cox and Jixie.
Cox. Like, come on, man.
Yep.
Like, y'all had the iron bullpen, literally.
We did. And those guys were amazing. And then what was even more amazing was in the World Series in Houston when we were tied up and I'm out in center and all of a sudden I see Burley running down to the bullpen. That was the kind of team we had. Like Burley's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'll throw out of the pen. I mean, I know that people plan that stuff now. We didn't plan it back then. Burley actually went to Ozzy and said, "Hey, I'm going to go get loose." And he goes, "What?" He said, "I'm going to go get loose in case you need me." So he put his spikes on and he ran down to the left field bullpen. And he started getting loose, and then they brought him in, and he got a big out. That was our team.
And you guys won a World Series, and it will be forever a legendary moment. Forever ingrained here in Chicago sports fans. Let's give Aaron Rowand one more round of applause here for coming out here today at Wings and Rings here in Chicago, Illinois on Halstead. Aaron, thank you so much for all of your time. It means a lot to us.
My pleasure, and thank you for everybody that's here and hanging around. And
of course,
they came out.
Next time you come on, maybe we'll talk Bears. I know you guys are firing it up. We could do a whole podcast about Justin Fields and the Bears next time.
I love it.
All right, man. Aaron Rowand, everybody. Thanks again. Yeah. You're good. You could just say it. Yeah, thank you, sir. We'll catch up with you soon. Yes, sir. So, Justin, if you want to give a shout out to the viewers of your podcast here before we wrap things up.
Well, you can find me on the Bad Guy Radio and the Blackout Show, both podcasts on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Of course. Always appreciate you coming on and helping out, carrying the load as the White Sox fan.
I'm fanned out right now.
Fanned out. He had to compose himself there and not do the Chris Farley Beatles impersonation. You remember that one time?
No.
So we appreciate everyone tuning in, everybody here live at Wings and Rings for hanging out here today. Stay tuned for more live shows when Collectors Cave puts on events here in the future. More to come.
That's what she said.
That's exactly what she said. So we're excited for that. White Sox coming up against the Red Sox at 3:00. So we'll be out in the bleachers. If you're at the game, feel free to say hi to us. Maybe I'll buy you a drink. You never know. So thanks again for everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Aaron Rowand. Thank you to Wings and Rings. And, of course, thank you to the Collectors Cave for putting on another great event. You guys have a great day. And I guess I'll say for one time, go White Sox. Yeah.